Right, can you now? Okay, let's get started. Good evening. Thank you so much for joining. I'm so happy to be here. This is my very first mindfulness membership masterclass. It's so exciting for me because I've been wanting to set this up for so long. And you know, for as long as I can remember, I've had so many skills, so many different tools, so much that I've been doing, so many modalities. And I wanted to bring them all together. That was always something that I was passionate about because for a long time I felt like they were segregated. And perhaps you can relate to this. Perhaps you've got areas of your life that feel really separate. And sometimes you feel like you're wearing different hats all the time. And that's how I felt. You know, I was a dance teacher, as a yoga teacher, as a Reiki master, NLP practitioner, and I didn't know which hat to wear when. I didn't know how to balance between the roles, and I found myself getting very mixed up with all these roles, wearing all these different hats or masks, if you like. And so the mindfulness membership was really a brainwave for me. It was a way of bringing everything together onto one platform because there was people in my world that were like, wow, we love everything that you do. How can we be part of all of it? How can we use all of your toolkit to help ourselves? So that's really what it is for. It's me simplifying my journey that I've been on to help you with your journey. And I assume that you're here because you are on a journey. And we often wonder, what is that journey? Where is it going? Why am I even in it? Why can't I just live a normal life? And perhaps you have people around you who are not on a journey. Maybe they're just oblivious and they're going through their lives without even thinking or worrying about anything, seemingly. Everybody's, of course, got worries, but sometimes it feels very isolating being on a journey. And it feels like, why am I the one that's having to do all this inner work? And it seems like others around me are not doing it. And that's very much how I felt. And so even though I did have the support of coaches and mentors and teachers, I still felt very stuck and very alone. And that's another reason why I set up this membership, because I wanted to bring community together. I love bringing groups together. This is one of my favorite things to do. I love working one-to-one, but I also love being in an environment where like-minded people can connect. So if you haven't already done so, please introduce yourself on the chat. Say who you are, say what you're looking for. What would you like to get out of it today? Or are you just here with an open mind and just see how it goes? Go with the flow. That's the best way to do it. So if you haven't already, make sure that you've got your journal, make sure you've got a drink of water if you need, and just really be present. And so to help you with this, we're going to start with a short meditation. So if you're new to meditation, you can just perhaps sit and relax. You don't need to close your eyes, but it can help if you do. Just make sure you're sitting comfortably in your chair or wherever you are at the moment. Make sure it's safe for you to close your eyes if you are going to. And we're just going to start by taking some long, deep breaths. And the breath is a really nice way of just grounding you into the present moment. So I assume most of you have been having a busy day. It's a work day. I really appreciate you being here. But what we want to do is just leave whatever it is that you've been through behind. Okay, so we want to really be present. And it's so natural for the mind to want to ponder on things that perhaps happened, maybe conversations, but now's not the time. Now's the time to just be. And then perhaps after this session, you can then reflect. So take your time to just breathe. It's so important to breathe deeply. Most of the people that I meet through my yoga classes that I teach and my meditation sessions and retreats, they breathe in a very shallow way. What we want to do is we really want to expand the lungs. We want to open up that space. Breathe from our diaphragm. Make sure that you're letting all of the air in. Good. And now let's see if we can deepen it further. You might want to count 4 in and 4 out. Okay. And then only when you're ready, bring yourself back to the here and now. So that was just a grounding exercise. It was no more than 2 minutes. And that's sometimes all it takes. You know, so many of us, when we think about meditation or mindfulness, we say we haven't got time. But sometimes it is just about taking those couple of minutes and just breathing. So if you feel called to, then you can write on the chat, how do you feel now? Just after that 2 or 3 minutes of just really being with yourself, connecting that body and the mind. So often our body is doing one thing and our mind is wandering off and doing another. So that's what we mean when we say connection, alignment, bringing the two together, union. The word yoga means union. So this element of just being with yourself. So if you feel like you want to, you can share on the chat. How are you now? How do you feel? And when we answer this question, we don't want to answer it from our logical mind, because the logical mind, as you know, is going to want to analyze. Well, I feel like this and I feel like that, and my knees hurting and my hips hurting. Whereas the higher mind, which is the intuitive mind, is actually what you want to be listening to. And so much of my work is about teaching people how to differentiate between the two parts of the mind, the two states. So you probably have heard these phrases, the lower self and the higher self. And the lower self refers to that logical, rational, analytical part of the brain. And that's not a bad thing. Of course, it's there. It's your intellect. It's there to, you know, help you and support you, but it's also there to keep you safe. And your higher self is your intuitive mind. It's your wisdom. It's your insight. And we all have it. Intuition is not just something for clairvoyants or psychics. Everybody has intuition. It's just whether or not you choose to tap into it. But in order to tap into it, first of all, you need to know what it feels like. So when we're working with my clients, the first thing I do is I say, let's identify what are the characteristics of the lower self and the higher self. And that's what we're going to start off with now. We're going to start off with a very simple journaling exercise. Many of you may have already done this before, but it doesn't matter. It's always good to revisit these things, because the more you do them, the more they start to sink in. So in your book or your journal, we're just going to draw 2 columns. And in one column, we're going to write lower self. It's also referred to as the ego mind. So you may have heard of that. Carl Jung, the psychologist, he called it the shadow mind. So there's lots of different names for it. And then in the second column, you're going to write higher self or higher mind. Some people call this soul. Again, different names, same thing. So I'd like you to write some characteristics of the lower self and the higher self. And if you feel called to, you can write on the chat as well. Do want this to be interactive, so I want to hear from all of you where you're at in your journey, because this helps me to gauge your understanding of these topics. And again, like I say, these might seem like very simple foundation level introduction to mindfulness and spirituality, but actually it does form the basis. Because when we're going through life, it's so easy to get caught up in the lower mind. So what is the lower mind? And it's not enough to just say it's negative and positive. because it's not always the case. The higher self can also give you, can exercise caution. If perhaps you're not meant to do something, you're not meant to go somewhere, the higher self might protect you by telling you not to go. So often we think that it's just that the lower self is holding you back and the higher self is pushing you forward. That's not the case. So what are some of the traits? Negativity, yeah, it's the first one. So the lower mind is more, and it's not really negative, it's more cautious, because as I said, it's trying to keep you safe. Safe in the sense that it's keeping you surrounded by what's familiar. That's why we call it our comfort zone, because it's trying to keep you where you're used to being, where it's familiar. So yeah, definitely cautious. Doubt would come from the lower self, yeah. So if you're invited somewhere, for example, you might doubt yourself, like, oh, am I going to be able to make it on time? Am I going to get car parking? So you might think these are normal thoughts. Yes, they are. But are they prohibiting you? That's the question. Are they holding you back from saying yes to something that could potentially be beneficial for you? So doubt, yeah. Any others for the lower mind? Fear, yeah, big one. So many people come to me and say, I have fear, and I don't know why I have fear. We have so much anxiety nowadays. What is anxiety? It's just fear being manifested. It's just the outcome of fear. So where did that fear come from? You know, I've got people that come to me and say, I've never been an anxious person. All my life, I was so bubbly, I was so confident, and now all of a sudden I have anxiety and I get panic attacks. Where did it come from? Yeah, where did it come from? It comes from the lower mind. It comes from that place that's trying to keep you safe. So fear, yeah, stuck in the physical, yeah, definitely. So there's this feeling of being stuck, reacting to things quickly. Love that. Yes, that's what the lower mind is renowned for. Reacting. It's known for just that's its job, right? It's trying to analyze, it's trying to rationalize. And now let's talk about some qualities of the higher mind, the higher self. So we said that there's intuition. What else? Yes, positive, but like I said, it doesn't always have to be positive. Self-belief, definitely. Self-belief comes from the higher self. What other qualities come from the soul, the intuitive mind? Faith, yeah, faith. And when I say faith, I don't mean faith in the religious sense. So it doesn't have to be, it can be, but faith in yourself, as we said, self-belief, but faith in the bigger picture. Being present, yeah, perfect, in the moment, not overthinking. So overthinking would be lower mind, whereas higher self is very present. Like right now, I'm in my higher self, I'm being with you. In the beginning, we were a bit muddled up with the technology, but yes, definitely now. Do you also notice there's a sense of flow? I love that word, flow. Such a beautiful word, but also beautiful feeling, beautiful concept. Don't we just love watching like ballerinas because they're in this state of flow? You know, ice skaters, for example, listening to musicians, because we get lost in it, we get mesmerized. So being in flow is a state of the higher mind. Self-confidence, trusting your own decisions. Yes, that's a big one. The lower mind would doubt everything, doubt oneself, doubt other people, whereas the higher mind would have a lot more trust. Trust towards yourself, but also trust towards the bigger picture. Feeling free. Yes, I like that one. Feeling really free in your mind, so not cluttered. Not stagnant. Stagnation would be lower mind because it's feeling stuck, it's feeling cluttered, it's feeling really clogged up, whereas the higher mind is free, it's open. Responding calmly, yes. Staying composed and rational, yes. I love all of these. Now, these are all states of mind. But as you know, the body and the mind are connected. So how do you know which one is which? So remember I said, many of my clients, they don't know the difference between which one they're in. They don't know where they are. It's like there's two people within them and they don't know which one they're in. So what I do is I help them by saying, how do you feel? Because the lower self feels contracting. Okay, so this would be happening to the body, this feeling of hunching, this feeling of folding inwards. And the higher self is expansive because it's a state of flow, it's a state of zen. Everything is just free flowing. Yeah. So the way to know which state of mind you're operating from is to know how it feels in the body. So if you have a decision to make, say, for example, you need to go for a job interview, but you're not sure if that's the right job for you, if you should even bother, maybe you don't even want to apply. So you're thinking it through. So you'll get lots of doubts. Oh, but I don't want to commute, but you'll also get positive as well. You'll think, okay, well, maybe I can go there. Maybe it's a good opportunity. Maybe it's a springboard. The way to know is to check in with your body. How does it feel? The thought of going for the interview, the thought of getting the job, does it fill me with this feeling, this contracting feeling, a feeling of wanting to close in? And I'm not just talking about the chest. The chest is a good indicator, but it's also coming from here, the stomach, the sacral. So am I thinking about it in my mind and it's creating this impact? Or am I thinking about it in my mind and it's creating this impact? So that's how you know which one you're operating from. Now, the challenge is you might have an idea and it's creating this expansiveness. That means it's coming from the higher self. However, what do you think is going to happen next? The lower self is going to interrupt and it's going to intervene and say, but have you thought through this? Have you thought through that? What if? And it's going to give you lots of different scenarios. And then what happens is you've got this internal dialogue going on between these two states of mind. And unfortunately, most of the time, the lower self is going to win. It shouldn't be a battle. Sometimes it is. And sometimes the lower self wins because it's louder. And the higher self is just quieter, it's whispering. So the higher self knows that it's the right opportunity, but the lower self will hold that person back. And then in a few months' time, maybe they'll look back, hindsight is a great thing, and they'll perhaps have regrets. So really a big part of my role is to stop this cycle, is to help people to stop being held back from their potential and to take opportunities and to, go for it, to do whatever it is that they're meant to do. Because we're all here on earth for two reasons. Only two reasons, according to me. You might choose to agree or disagree. The first reason I believe we're all here is to fulfill our karma. So I'm going to write these in the chat box in case you need the spelling, in case they're new concepts for you. The first reason is our karma. Most of you, I'm sure, know the word karma. It's very common. It's our duty, it's our actions, it's our desires, the reason our soul had to come. But it's also the lessons that you had to learn. So remember I said at the beginning, some of your friends and family are not on this journey at all. They're not on a path of self-awareness. And that's because they didn't need to learn the lessons that you need to learn. So you're come here to finish its evolution. And to do that, it requires you to complete your learning. So it's like going to university and you're doing a degree. You've got to complete all the modules. If you don't complete a module, you've got to retake it and retake it and retake it until you have mastered it. In the same way, each quality of ours is like a module. Tolerance is a module. Patience is a module. Compassion is a module. Empathy is a module. So if you go through lessons and you don't learn those things, you're going to have to keep on going through them, keep on going through them. And then we say, oh, it's not fair on me. I think I have bad karma. It's bad. It just means you need to learn part of your evolution process. That's what karma is. So if you have any questions about that, please write on the chat. It's a deep topic, and this is what we really go into in the membership and in the one-to-one sessions. We really dive into these into depth. This is just very much an overview today. But if you do have anything that you would like to ask or share even your own example, and this explains why different people go through different circumstances, because we all have karma with each other. So that's why we have to go through certain things. And then the second reason, remember I said there's two reasons, is to step into your Dharma. Dharma is the second reason why you are on earth. And it's so exciting to think about that. It's scary as well. It's daunting. I'll write it in the chat box. But it's also really, really exciting because it's a pivotal moment for the soul. It's like graduating from your master's degree, let's say, and going into your PhD. It's like the final bit. It's the culmination of your soul's journey. And if you believe in reincarnation, it's not just in this life, it's in all of your previous lives. So Dharma is the culmination of all of your lessons. So if you believe in a God, and you don't have to believe in this concept, but if you do, it's almost as if God is saying, okay, go down, go to earth, go and play, have fun, eat, drink, be merry, have relationships, do different things, have children if that's what you desire. But there's a but. Learn the lessons and then implement the lessons. And then the final part is find your way back home. Don't forget that you're a soul in the human body. Don't get so comfortable on earth that you think, oh, this is it. I'm my body. I enjoy it here. Life is like a playground. I'm just having fun. No. Learn your lessons, evolve, enjoy, go through the highs and lows, the ebbs and flows, implement those lessons in service of others, to support others, which is what I'm doing now. I'm using my experiences to help you. And then finally find your way back home. Isn't that a beautiful way of thinking? What are your thoughts about that? What are your reflections on what I've just shared? And of course, Dharma has associations with the religions of Hinduism and Buddhism, but this is not necessarily religious. For me, this is very much universal. So when we talk about the journey, I said earlier, where are we actually going? What are we actually doing with the journey? Well, we're going from karma to Dharma. Does anyone feel like they are on a journey from karma to Dharma? Do you feel like you're transitioning? So Dilpreet has made a very good point. Sometimes you know this information, but it's hard to implement because you're distracted by worldly things. Yeah, the lower self is distracted by worldly things, the ego mind. But today, we're tapping into the higher mind, the higher self. And so the higher self knows these things, just has to remember. And most of us will only remember these things when we go through bad things in life. When things are going smoothly, we don't necessarily need to look for any answers, do we? We don't necessarily need to turn to religion, spirituality, faith. But it's only when things are not going the way that we anticipated that they would be going. That's when most of us turn to this. I remember when I went to an ashram in 2009 and I stayed there for a month. I was in my early 20s, went by myself, and I'm staying in this ashram. And this guy comes up to me and he was like a Swami. He was wearing an orange robe and everything. He was a complete devout Hindu. And he said, "So what's your story?" to me. And I was like, "I don't have a story. I was so young then. I didn't really genuinely have a story. I do now." He said, "So why are you here?" And I said, "Because I like yoga, I like meditation. I wanted to immerse myself in an ashram experience." And he said, "So you haven't been through trauma?" And I was like, "No, I've had a wonderful childhood. How can you say that?" I was taken aback. I didn't understand what he meant, but I did later on, because most people only go towards religion, spirituality, when they've gone through something significant that's put them on that path. In my case, it was the other way around. So I equipped myself with all these tools, and then I went through my awakening. I don't call it trauma. I don't like the word trauma. I think it should be taken out of the dictionary. I like the word awakening, because that's all it is. It's just a different perception of the same thing. Trauma is something that you've gone through in life that has created this tremendous amount of pain. But it's what you do with that pain. Do you carry it, or do you turn it into something? And that's why I prefer to call my situation that I went through an awakening. And I hope as well that you'll consider calling your situation, whatever it is that you may have gone through or currently are going through, an awakening, a soul's calling. Julie's asked a really good question, and I love questions. Please do ask questions in the chat. This is what this is all about. It's about being, we're learning from each other here. So Julie's asking, how do you know when you're living your Dharma? Well, you'll know when you're not. It's easier to know when you're not living your Dharma, because it will feel like something is out of alignment. And for years, I thought I was living my Dharma. I was running my successful dance school. On paper, I had it all. I had awards to my name. I had financial success. I had everything going for me. But internally, something felt like it wasn't quite right. And perhaps that's what you're feeling now. Maybe you're feeling that something is out of alignment in your life. You can't quite pinpoint it, maybe. Maybe your job doesn't align with your values. Maybe your partner doesn't connect with your long-term vision. Whatever it is, but there's something in your life that's not aligned. And then your logical mind will say, well, life's not perfect. It's not meant to be rosy. You're not supposed to have everything. That's a dream. But then the higher self kicks in and says, but I'm only here for two reasons: to finish up my karma and then step into my Dharma. So the more I stay in that karmic space, in the wrong job, in the wrong relationship, in the wrong house, etc., the more I'm prolonging my journey with Dharma. So I hope that's answered your question. And I know Julie very well, and I would say that she's definitely somebody who is on the verge of stepping into her Dharma. So really beautiful question. Anyone else want to ask anything or share anything even? Any reflections that are coming up? Anything you're writing in your book? So we talked about trauma being pain, the opposite of that being awakening. So it's like pain to purpose. How can I make meaning out of what I've been through? Have you heard of those people that have been to prison and they've been through awful circumstances? They've endured so much and they've completely turned their situation around and rehabilitated in some cases, and they've come out and now they're helping other people. You all heard those stories. That's exactly a good example of karma to Dharma. It's like, how can I use my experience to help other people? Imagine right now what you're going through, the themes that you're feeling. Maybe you're feeling overwhelmed. Maybe you're feeling rejection, abandonment. Maybe you're going through abuse. Whatever it is you're going through, and I'm not saying it lightly, these are serious things. Imagine one day, perhaps 2 years from now, 3 years from now, 5 years from now, you are working with other people that are going through the same thing. Where you are today. Imagine if you're just a bit further along, because that's what's happening now. I don't claim to know it all. I'm just a little bit further along in my journey. And so I'm just sharing from that space this evening. So imagine if you were doing that. Imagine if that was your job. What would that be like? This is my job. I can't believe it. I really cannot believe it. I'm just talking in flow. It's amazing, isn't it? I'm just sharing. So yeah, the karma or awakening leads you to your Dharma. Yeah, perfect. Exactly. But it's that culmination of the karma. So it's everything you've ever been through. Were you bullied in school? Did you feel like you were the odd sibling, that was left out? Everything. Good and bad, by the way. Karma doesn't have to be bad. It's good things as well. All of what you've been through, how can you put all of it together? And say, hey guys, this is me. This is what I've been through. And this is what I want to share with you. People that have been through the foster care system, that they are now working within that field. And it's not just related to job, by the way. When we think of Dharma, we often think it's only career, but it's not. It's life. It's everything. Like, for example, if there's a natural disaster, an earthquake or something, there's a group of people that will get together and they'll cook for people, or they'll go and take blankets, or they'll go and help. That's them using their own skills, their strengths, their experiences, and they're putting them to use for other people. So Dharma is putting your karma in service of others. So everything you've been through, you're then using that to help other people. Isn't that really noble? And there's no heaviness or responsibility with that. There's no burden. Karma can feel like a burden. And that's how I knew that I wasn't on the right path. Even though I had seemingly everything, I knew that I wasn't on the right path because it felt like a job. It felt like a chore. There was a heaviness. There was a contraction. This was happening in my body. The thought of whatever it is that I was doing, it didn't fill me with that expansiveness, that joy. I wasn't lit up the way that I am now. Do you have any questions, any comments, reflections? Is Dharma always about service? It doesn't always have to be about directly serving others, but yes, there's this idea of contribution in being more than just yourself, being more than who you are. It's about being the best version of you, the most congruent version of you. And that often does involve service, from my experience. I can't really think of an example of Dharma without it benefiting other people. Any other thoughts? So if you feel like you need to have a moment now just to breathe, just to reconnect, a lot of information's gone in. With all of this, remember, we're not absorbing it as information. Okay, it's not like a work meeting that you're just listening and taking in, making notes, and then that's it. This is spiritual knowledge. So it's about allowing it to sink in and to absorb on a deeper level. And this kind of stuff took me years and years to figure out. It's very deep. You need to sit with it, ponder, breathe through it. So we talked about the characteristics of the lower self and the higher self. We talked about the concept of karma to dharma. And now, while you're in this space of meditation, I want to ask you, well, I guess I want to ask your higher self, if you had no fears, what would you do? If there were no fears at all, if you had no worries, if you had no doubts, no lack, no scarcity, what would you do? And it can be personally or professionally or both. Is there anything you would do differently to what you're doing now? Isha's for explore the world, travel. Yeah, I love that. I was so lucky to do that in my 20s. And it's because I was fearless. I didn't have any fears because I hadn't, as I said, hadn't gone through anything major that was holding me back. So the world was my oyster. In fact, I used to treat it like a playground. In the ashram, there was actually a lake. And they said to us, the ashram people, that last month, a student got eaten by a crocodile in that lake. And would you believe it? I swam in that lake. I was like, it's okay, if I get eaten, that's my time on earth done. I was like, so in my higher self, I had no fears at all. And that was one of the best experiences, and I still remember it. I didn't get eaten, so that was good. So if you had no fears, what would you do? Be honest with yourself. The lower self's going to try to hold you back and say, but what if? How can you do that? what does the higher self really want? Anyone else want to share theirs? I love this question. And do you know, if you ask this question to a child, the answers you get are amazing, because children do. They do think freely. They don't have the inhibitions that we have. They haven't got the conditioning, the years and years of, cultural conditioning, society, the norms, layers of karmic patterns. We're just carrying so much stuff around with us. Many of you might even be struggling to answer this question. And if you are, it's probably because your lower self, your logical brain, is trying to answer it. What does your higher self really long for? I know what my higher self longs for. For me, it's impact. I want to share. Many of you know my story. I was diagnosed with an autoimmune condition in my mid-20s, and I was told that I may not have a long life. And that really just made me feel determined to make a great impact, and I really want to be able to touch people's lives. I really want to be able to help uplift them, transition them from karma to dharma. That's what my soul desires. What does your soul desire? Do you give yourself a chance to think about it? Do you want freedom? Julie says, yeah, life is opening up. Content, exactly. Yeah, definitely. You're on the path. You're on the cusp, as we say. And when you think about your desires, a lot of people think that the higher self should not want abundance, and that if you're truly spiritual, you should just live in a box and not have any money. That's not true. That's a myth. That's a limiting belief. And we have a choice in changing that narrative. The higher self can want abundance. The higher self can want a designer bag. The higher self can want a sports car. It does not mean it's materialistic. What's more important is the intention. So again, when you're checking in with yourself and you're thinking, okay, which state am I operating from now? Well, what desires do I want? Where's that desire coming from? Why do I think I have that desire? So I have a desire for wealth and for abundance, and I'm not ashamed of it. I'm not ashamed of it, because I know that it's my higher self that desires it, so that I can make greater impact. If I'm living in a box, I'm not going to be able to do that much. So it's about, for me, being in service. And that's not just a way that I justify it to myself. It's about your higher self can want things that are tangible. So don't feel like, oh, I'm being greedy or I'm being materialistic if I want that. If you are feeling that way, there might be some money blocks there, or some, limiting beliefs that need to be worked through. So Jessie said something really interesting: becoming free from the circle of reincarnation and merging back with the creator. Beautiful, Jessie. So you've kind of gone on to the third stage. So remember I said that there was two main reasons we're on earth: karma, dharma, and then the third one is to go back home. So you're kind of wanting to skip from 1 to 3. So you've got to do that bit in the middle. But beautiful desire to have. And I remember actually when I was going through my awakening, I had that strong desire. I was like, just take me, please take me. I want to be with you, God. I don't want to be here on earth. I want to be with you. And it wasn't in a kind of, way that I was feeling suicidal or anything like that. It was just a genuine desire, because I am, very, very connected to the universe, the source, almighty, whatever you call it. And so I really felt that strong pull. I remember I used to cry sometimes and say, please just let me be with you. So I can understand you when you say that, but just don't forget that there's a bit in the middle to go through. Anyone else want to share before we start to wrap up? So Dilpreet said something very insightful. Lower self fears people are talking about me, yeah, and judging me and saying bad things, exactly. But I want my higher self to think that those judgments don't matter at all and they don't define me. Yes, love it. The higher self does not get affected by any judgments, by anything, by anyone. That lower self fearing people are talking about you and judging you, that's coming from self-belief, self-esteem, self-worth, and self-love. And that's coming from, in the chakra system, the solar plexus. Okay? That's where that's coming from. So if you're second guessing yourself and thinking, oh, are they looking at me funny? Or they didn't put an emoji on the text, or, oh, I don't think they like me, or whatever, that's coming from your lack of self-worth, your lack of self-belief, self-love. So one of the courses in the membership is self-love. And it's a very powerful course. I put together my own framework, 4 stages to self-love. And people that have gone through it, they've actually done it 2 or 3 times just to really reiterate the knowledge. And they've said that it's really helped them to have a breakthrough in terms of their own perception of themselves. Because the solar plexus, which is here, is all about your identity and your own perception of how you see yourself. And if you haven't had that chance to really get to know yourself, then you may have a warped perceptions. You might not know who you are. And when you don't know who you are, you can't love yourself. So many people don't even know their favorite color, their favorite food, or their preferences, because they haven't gone through the personal development process of getting to know who they are. They've kind of followed along with what society needs of them or wants of them or whatever, and then not really prioritize themselves. You might be feeling bad about spending money on self-care. You might feel guilty about it, think that you're less important. You might get given a gift and give it away. Anyone do that? Because you think, oh, I don't need that. Oh, if you genuinely don't need it, that's a different thing. But if you feel that you're not worthy of it, that's coming from low self-worth, and all that's coming from the lower self. So that's why all this is so important, this work that we do. So self-love is actually one of my favorite courses in the membership, along with meditation, 21-day gratitude. That's a really good one. Manifestation, I've put my 5 stages to manifestation in there as well. I mean, it's a very comprehensive platform. It's everything that I know: dance, yoga, well-being, personal development, all the tools that I have. I've laid them all out and I've, basically giving them to you. So it's very, very powerful. If you can make the effort, if you're self-motivated, then you'll really enjoy going through them. This masterclass is going to be held once a month. So as I said, today was the first one. I'm really glad that you all joined, because I love the first of anything. It's always really exciting. The next one, if you want to make a note of the date, it's 17th of June. I will be sending an email out nearer the time. Tends to be on a Tuesday evening, just works for me. And there's always going to be a replay as well. Obviously, joining live is so much better, but there will be a replay sent out the next day as well. So we'll just finish now with a short meditation. So just make yourself comfortable again, just like you did at the beginning. And so we've really explored a lot of different themes tonight. We've really dipped into different concepts. We talked about fears and doubts. We talked about self-love, purpose, trauma, pain, awakening. And just allow all of this to just sink in, just settle. We don't want to just start analyzing straight away. Just let it land. And it's okay if certain things you haven't resonated with, that's okay too. just be in the moment, be with your breath, and trust that you're on the right path. You're here for a reason. And when I say here, I mean in this group. There's a reason that you needed to be in this session today. Trust in that. The right knowledge and wisdom will come to you at the right time, and you will absorb whatever it is you need to, whatever your soul is ready to absorb. And as you breathe, I want you to notice that expansion in the chest, the openness, and the current running through you, from the crown of the head into the body, all the way down the spine, into the feet. And your whole body is filled with a magnetic light, filling you up with power, with peace, and with positivity. Power, peace, and positivity. And repeat these affirmations to yourself. I am strong. I am brave. I am confident. I am loved. And then continue to create affirmations for yourself that are relevant to you and the themes that you're going through right now. And affirmations are a really powerful way of reprogramming our subconscious minds, creating new narratives, new stories, new dialogues, replacing them with the old, the ones that you were told by your parents, your siblings, your teachers. You have a choice now. You have a choice to rewrite your story. Your past does not define your future. You don't need to be a victim of your circumstances. You are powerful. You are blessed. You are protected. You are loved. And drawing in the life force energy into every cell of your being, filling you up with warmth, radiance, and light. Warmth, radiance, and light. And now placing your hands over the center of your chest. I would like you to feel an overwhelming sense of gratitude for being here this evening, for being in this space, for dedicating this time to your soul, to your self-growth, to your personal development, for investing in you, for saying yes to your future self, that version of you that's yet to be born. Giving yourself permission to shine your light. Gratitude, gratitude, gratitude. And then rubbing your palms together, cupping them over your face and eyes. Gently massage around your cheeks, forehead, temples. Bring your hands into prayer position, reciting a mantra or a prayer, or just another affirmation to yourself. Enjoying these moments of peace and calm as you remember who you are. You remember why you are here.